Hey guys, so as most of you know, Call of Duty Vanguard has recently been released on PlayStation, or at least the alpha has, and it's ready to preload for the weekend. If you have preloaded the game, I would recommend plugging in the keyboard and mouse and hitting F3 because this will allow you to access your settings and get them ready. From what I know, there's no other way to do this currently, so having a keyboard and mouse is vital. Once you are in the settings menu, you can go through and change all your settings to what you would like. Here are some recommended settings, and I'm also going to tell you what I think about how they will react, whether they're going to be more similar to stuff like Warzone and Modern Warfare or Cold War. I prefer 6.6 sensitivity and a 0.90 ADS sensitivity multiplier. From what I understand, this seems to be more similar to Warzone and what your general Warzone sensitivity would be than Cold War, so I would suggest setting this to whatever your Modern Warfare or Warzone sensitivity is. Same with button layout and preset and flipped. Whatever you have on Warzone or Modern Warfare, I would suggest putting here. Aim response curve type, I prefer dynamic, but this should also be the same as your Warzone settings because I think it will react differently compared to Cold War. There are some things like trigger effect that I will only have because I'm on PS5, but that will depend on your system. When we get to aim assist, that's when things get more interesting. We've got target aim assist, which is whether you just got it on or off. That's just standard. But when you get to target aim assist mode, this is where things change a little bit. The top three seem to be the same as Modern Warfare or Warzone, so Vanguard just is the same as Warzone and Modern Warfare aim assist styles, but they also added Legacy, which is the same as Black Ops. So if you play a lot of Black Ops Cold War, you may prefer this aim assist style. This will take some testing to see which is better in the actual game, but just put it to whatever you're used to and experiment when the alpha fully comes out. They also have ADS aim assist, which seems to be what they would normally have for campaign and zombies, but it's also in the alpha settings, so I would suggest leaving it on, although I'm doubtful it will have any effect. The rest of these settings are generally preference, but I would put them to what you have your Warzone settings to, or the Warzone equivalents to, so like tap to slide, or whether you want to have your mount delay being longest, or normal. Now this is a unique setting to Vanguard, but I would just set it as default because that should be most similar to your Modern Warfare settings. Where it gets interesting is the interact/reload behavior, as tap to reload is the standard for every COD, but they also have tap to interact. Tap to interact is essentially where you hold to reload, and whether you want to open a door or interact with an object, you just have to tap, whereas tap to reload is the opposite. I would suggest putting something like prioritize reload, where you basically tap to both reload and interact with objects, but if there's a door next to you and you want to reload, you have to hold the reload button. But some people may prefer prioritize interact, where it will always interact with things first, and then you can prioritize reload if you want. This will take some experimenting when the full game comes out. We also have a lot of ADS sensitivities for very high zoom scopes, so I would suggest setting this all the same as your high ADS multiplier, but it will take some experimenting again when the game comes out. We also have some changes to the dead zone settings, as these are more similar to Cold War, but there is new settings for L2 and R2 buttons. If you only play Modern Warfare and don't know what to set these to, I would suggest trying to keep your max input dead zone as high as possible, so close to 100 as possible, and your minimum input dead zone for your left and right stick being as low as possible. To find your minimum stick threshold, I would recommend looking at your Warzone settings, and if you have it at like something like 0.7, putting these to a 7. Whereas for your max input thresholds, I would just put them all the way to 100, and if you do notice any stick drift, lowering them slowly. The L2 and R2 dead zones are new for this game, but I would suggest leaving it default and then lowering it if you want them to be more sensitive, or raising it if you need them to be less sensitive. The camera movement seems to be shake whether you're doing things like tag sprinting or jumping, so if you want the most competitive edge, I would suggest putting this to least and turning off motion blur so you're able to kill people and still move very quickly without it interfering with your aim. Audio settings are also very objective and up to you, but I would suggest putting them to be very similar or the same as your Warzone settings. I would also suggest putting something like boost high or boost low as your audio mix because they generally allow you to hear footsteps easier. And then of course there's the keyboard and mouse settings if you do prefer keyboard and mouse. That's all I have for this video. I hope you all enjoyed.